Hey friends, it's Michelle from Little Farm in the Valley. It's terribly windy outside, so I am here in the barn. You can see the goats behind me. So today I want to talk to you about a recipe that my family has been making for many years. As long as I can remember, every summer we would always make homemade root beer. Now you need a stretch of really hot weather to make this. So I think we're gonna have pretty hot weather in the next 3 days. So I should be able to make this homemade root beer. So that's the plan today. So we're getting out all of our bottles. Okay, so here is my bottle of root beer concentrate extract and my recipe. So if I were to make a whole batch of root beer using the whole bottle, here's how my recipe would read. 4.5 gallons water, 1/3 cup vanilla extract, 1 teaspoon yeast, 4 pounds sugar, 2 cups honey, and 1 bottle of extract. Now I have a big 5-gallon pot that I use to make this, and that is full, like to the brim, when I make the whole recipe, which I've always done. So this year I decided to try making half a batch instead of the whole batch. So I'll probably just eyeball half of this, and then I'll take 2.5 gallons water, cut the vanilla in half, cut everything in half, 2 pounds of sugar, 1 cup honey, and half this bottle. And another reason that I want to cut this in half, first of all, I don't think I have enough bottles to bottle 5 gallons of root beer. Now you probably think that's an insane amount of sugar, but here's how most of these carbonated drinks work. Like the ginger ale that I make, kombucha is another one, and same thing with this root beer extract. It feeds on the sugar. So you're adding 4 pounds of sugar, and if you drink this root beer, it says age 3 days, then it's ready. At the 3-day point, it'll be sweet. It'll be just like a soda. If you let it age a week, if you let it age longer, the longer and longer you let it age, the less sweet it'll taste, because it consumes the sugar. It feeds on the sugar, and that's how it carbonates. So that's why you add so much sugar to these drinks. People always seem to be like, whoa, that's a lot of sugar. And even with the kombucha, that's also a lot of sugar per batch. And the ginger ale that I make has like 2 cups of sugar per batch. But that's just gone. When you let this root beer age for too long, it'll almost turn into like a beer. Like there'll be no more sugar left. Kombucha, after too long, there'll be no sugar left, and it'll just turn really vinegary and icky. The ginger ale, that kind of turns beer-like too. So the point is, even though it seems like a lot of sugar, the drink will actually consume the sugar, and that's how it carbonates. So making half a batch, I will only be using 2 pounds of sugar. So, but there'll also be a cup of honey. So that's the plan. I will just be making half a batch. So I have my 5-gallon pot that I pretty much use for everything. Even though I'm making half a batch, I don't think I have a pot like a smaller one that'll hold 2.5 gallons. So just to be on the safe side, this is my go-to pot. And the recipe says specifically to not use filtered water. So I'll just use tap water, and I use tap water for like kombucha and my ginger ale too, so I wasn't really surprised there. So we'll get the cold water going. The jars are in the dishwasher on the sanitize cycle, so we'll just mix this up, and once the jars are ready, we'll get going on bottling. Okay, for measuring, I'll use a 1/2 gallon jar. So 6 cups. I assume this is my mark here for a 1/2 gallon. We'll call it close enough if it's not. So we need 2 of these, makes a gallon, so 4 will make 2 gallons, and then another one, so 5 of these. Yeah. Okay, I'll call that like, well, it'd be a lot faster to do this if I can get my lid off. This is just my water jug for the refrigerator. So our vanilla is, the full recipe would have been a 1/3 cup. I don't think this would have been a 1/3 cup of vanilla. It might not even be 2 tablespoons plus 2 teaspoons. So before I do the other half of the recipe, I better get more vanilla. There's still a little bit left. So our next ingredient is 1/2 a tablespoon of yeast. I'm going to guesstimate that this is 1/2. So here's what 2.5 gallons look like. The pot's about halfway. And we still need to add our sugar and our honey and all that stuff. So next I'm going to get my kitchen scale out and get it set to measure the sugar. We're looking for 2 pounds of sugar, so I'm going to get my container and start measuring that. Well, I guess it would be helpful if I got my units right. So I'm going to have to dump it back and set my scale to the pounds and ounces unit. And I'll have to start all over again. I'm hoping this container actually has 2 pounds of sugar. If not, I'll have to pop downstairs and get some more. Well, it looks like it might. Yep, there's our 2 pounds. We'll get that dumped in. And there's my handy dandy little stir stick that I'm going to use once we're all done. So next we are going to tackle the honey. This is just raw honey. It doesn't have to be any special honey in particular, just kind of whatever honey that you happen to have on hand should work. So we're just going to measure a cup full of that, and you have to really make sure you stir really well to make sure that honey is dissolved in the sugar, of course. So for the extract, I think I'm going to measure it into this liquid cup measure, and then just pour half of it into my root beer and put half of it back into the jar. So it's a little over a 1/2 cup. So if we do a 1/4 cup and maybe a couple drops, that should be half. I think we'll do a 1/4 cup. And then I'll put the rest back in there. So a 1/4 cup, we'll do it extra full. Try to get the rest in here for next time. Wow, our root beer just turned black. Okay, so next up, we gotta stir all this. That sugar is not dissolved, the honey isn't dissolved, so I'm going to take for sure 2 or 3 minutes to just stir to make sure everything is dissolved. So this is still quite a bit of root beer. Like, you can imagine, could you drink all this in like a 2 or 3 week period? That's a lot of soda for a small family to drink. And once you get to that 3 or 4 week mark, when you open up a bottle, it's so carbonated that like half the bottle will fizz out and you'll be left with a couple inches of root beer in your cup. It's that carbonated already at that point. And that is just way too carbonated. I don't even enjoy it anymore at that point. So this way I can just make smaller batches, and maybe later in the summer I'll make another batch and we'll get to enjoy it fresh again. Okay, it's been a couple minutes. I'm not feeling anything. Everything feels like it's incorporated. So now all we have to do is wait for our bottles to be ready. Then we can bottle it and get it out into the sun. Okay, so I am ready to bottle. So here is the root beer. And I'm gonna start with the flip tops. Once these are all full, I'm gonna go to these. I have a couple more of these in the dishwasher. And if I run out of those, I've got a couple mismatched ones like that. So I'm thinking though, I should have enough. So let's get to filling these. So here's what we got. We got these over here, and then these in here. I'm gonna wash them just because some of them are sticky. So in all, we have 21. So imagine like a 24 pack of soda. This is just a couple bottles less than that. So I would hope we don't drink that much soda over like a 3 or 4 week period. So I'm really glad I did a small batch. Just gonna wash these. We're gonna wash the bottles.
My pop ready? Is my pop ready? Is my pop ready?
Nope.
Yes, it is. Yes, my pop is ready.
See this done. I don't know the reason that people do it this way, but this is just how I've always remembered it done. I don't know if it'll work. I can try it too. If it doesn't work, I'll probably just stand them all up. Maybe this exposes them to the sun a little bit more. I'm not quite sure. The idea is behind staggering them like this. I've doubled my baskets because this is going to be quite heavy, so just for extra security. Okay, it's been 3 days out here in the full sun, so we're going to test it. We're going to test one of the flip tops and one of these just to see It should be ready. I think I can see that this is carbonated. Like you can see some bubbles there. So it's test time. Start with one of these. That's got some good fizz there. Oh yeah. That's what I'm talking about. Let's check this one. Whoa. Wow. That's really got some fizz. Half my bottle's gone. You might have to, like I might have to take these and just burp them. Like open them really slowly and release some air. See? You can see it's bubbling, but I'm holding it crooked so I can kind of hold it in. I'll do that for all of them and I'll close them then before I put them in the fridge, just so I don't have the same thing happen. But anyway, there is our homemade root beer. Just like that. And it doesn't taste like root beer from a can. If you've ever had those root beer candy, like the hard candy that you suck on, that's exactly what it tastes like. So it's a little bit different than root beer from a can, but it's still root beer. And it is a really refreshing summer drink. You can still see it's fizzing pretty good, so I can't wait to try this. So thank you for watching, guys. If you enjoyed this video, as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a video. We will talk to you soon.